So there's the investigation.
Wow.
What do you think now?
Well, I remembered the regression. I can remember it in perfect detail. So it's seeing this now and seeing someone try and put some kind of factual evidence to what I said, what could have been a fanciful tale, it's actually quite amazing.
Do you know anything about that period of history, the sort of 1470, 1471, the state of the Wars of the Roses?
Yeah, of course I've heard of the War of the Roses, but I wouldn't be able to put a date on it. I wouldn't have been able to tell you there was a long period of peace afterwards. It's quite scary in a way, isn't it? I've got funny feelings in my tummy because you think, I wonder if it was real. I mean, it is odd, isn't it?
A lute-playing carpenter who sings on tables in ale houses.
Yeah, I don't do that a lot. I've tried to stop doing that because it's embarrassing. No, but I don't play a musical instrument, so that's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
I am involved in, obviously, the music business now, so, well, is that something that's been a constant through my life?
Through history, through all your life.
Yeah, through
maybe.
500-600 years,
yeah.
All quite strange. Obviously, my wife is called Vicky, she's not called Sarah, but I know at the end of my regression tape, you know, I am in floods of tears. I remember that vividly. I remember, you know, when Andrea said, OK, at the moment of death, can you see what happens? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm floating up. I can look down on my body. She's holding my hand. She's crying. Does this bear any relation? Yes, it's my wife.
This
oh my
is
God, freaky.
Looking at your story and what you've said between Sarah and Vicky, this is sort of a love that spanned 600 years. Are you a romantic man?
I am a massively romantic man, and I know the weird thing is that the first day I properly met Vicky, I told my friend I was going to marry her. I said, that's the woman I'm going to marry. I was age 36. And, and it was love at first sight. People talk about soulmates. You know, I found my soulmate, I have my soulmate, and everything in life is perfect.
What did she think when you got home to her and said, I think I might have just seen you 600 years ago?
I think, as most people would, they'd go, OK, should we have a chat about it? But I told her the story, and she said, well, it's either incredible or you have told an incredible story. It's weird doing this interview, and at the same time, I'm thinking about it now because I haven't seen that bit of film since we've just been sitting here chatting. And I'm playing it over and over in my head thinking, God, this is becoming more and more plausible now. And that in itself becomes odder and odder and odder because we're talking about me as a bloke called Thomas who was a carpenter, married to someone called Sarah, a baron's daughter. I've killed him with an arrow through his neck. You know, my goodness.
It's a violent death for the guy, isn't it?
Have I watched any films or what?
How did you feel about the fact that you were a murderer then and you did plunge this arrow through the baron's throat? How did that leave you feeling?
Well, I know at the time Andrea said to me, she said, look, any feelings of guilt about, you know, what you've done in a past life, you know, they can leave you now. And I remember saying to her at the time, I don't feel guilty about this. This guy needed to die. And, I mean, that sounds quite callous, but in a way I have no regrets. I haven't thought, God, blimey, I was a murderer in past life. I just thought, actually, there's part of me goes, I'm quite happy that at least in a past life, if there was someone that I felt was really needed taking out, then me and my friends would do the right thing.
Well, there's enough guilt in this life, really, to not start thinking about guilt 600 years ago. You were quite openly sort of sobbing on telly
well, at
there.
the end,
how
I was
do you feel about that?
This is not acting tears, that they were real tears. I remember absolutely being emotional, being distraught that I was going to die because I loved that woman, I loved my life, and I wanted it all to stay because I was enjoying it so much.
Does it make you feel better, or has it made you feel any different about the end of this life? So that knowing that maybe you were together with Vicky 600 years ago, and knowing that this is a particular window of your lives now, and that maybe it might happen again.
Well, look, we're all going to die. It's the only thing we know. After life, you know, it's the only thing we're certain of is there will be death for this body. Now, yeah, I hope and pray that something happens and I go on and God, I hope and pray that, you know, every life I meet Vicky because she's the woman I love and I'd like to be with her forever.
It's a fantastic story of true love across the ages. It'll be interesting to see what our experts think of it now. Let's see what they make of it all.
In Neil's regression, the storyline there seems to bear a very close resemblance to the storyline in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Again, people often take this kind of storyline and they'll weave their own story around that, and it turns out to make a great story.
He believes that his current wife also lived with him in the past, and so they share this. And this is quite common. When you're very deeply emotionally attached to somebody, you do feel that this love I feel for this person, and they hopefully feel for me, cannot have just existed in this lifetime. It must go back for eons. It's a very typical kind of belief.
For me, it's so obvious why Neil and his wife have had to meet in this lifetime again, because on the deathbed, Neil was unhappy about leaving, unhappy about dying. He wanted more time with that woman and that family, and so once he's found her again, he can fulfil the life that was cut short.
So then when it comes down to it, there is one question. What do you believe now? Do you believe you've been here before?
I think the honest answer is yes. I've had that sort of feeling, and this has been a fascinating thing to watch. There are lots of things here that perhaps, you know, the penny has dropped here for me, and I think it's good.
Well, give our love to Vicky, and here's to the next 600 years.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Join us next time for another chance to explore the possibility that we might have been here before.